It's great to see all your smiling faces. Today, we start each meeting with a Pledge of Allegiance. So if everyone could please take a second and unmute yourself. And we're going to put up a slide of the American flag here momentarily. If everyone could please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United
States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. We like to start off each meeting with Zoom tips. We've been on Zoom for a while now, but there's always new tricks of the trade with Zoom, some things that we're not aware of. So I'd like to turn it over to Devin for some Zoom tips.
Thanks, President Eric. Yeah, you all know the drill. Sign in the chat if you would, talk to your neighbors, find specific people and do the whisper at your table situation if you want to. And then if you want to raise your hand and ask questions or have an announcement later, or if you have a guest or visitor, go to the reactions tab, which is a little smiley face with a plus by it. And then you have either raise hand or a bunch of little emojis like the party emoji that I have just shared with y'all. And which adds just a little bit of life and extra fun to this digital platform. So I encourage you to use those as often as you desire, just like Madeline is doing right there. And then two more things. Check out your view, especially as we're getting into our speaker. You can choose between gallery view. It should be in the top right of your screen if you're on a computer, or it should have a little grid thing and say view. You can choose between seeing all of your friends or focusing on whoever is speaking at the time. And I am just going to let you all know if there is extra noise, I will hunt you down and ruthlessly mute you. Don't be offended, just unmute yourself if you're going to talk at some point, but we all have background noise. I have children screaming in the background occasionally, so that's why I mute myself sometimes. And finally, make sure to update your Zoom client regularly just to stay up to date with the security things and get the latest emojis and all that good stuff. And to do that, go to the Zoom website and just download the latest version from there. Back to you, President Eric.
Great, yeah, thank you, Devin. Now is a great time to practice our Zoom skills. So if you are a visiting Rotarian or you are a Rotarian who has a guest today, please click on reactions and raised hand, and we will introduce you to tell us who your guest is today. So I see Steve Schomburg, your hand went right up. Oh, you're still on mute.
How's that?
Go. Yep, there you go.
Thank you. My guest today is Bill Furlong, and Bill is interested in joining the club, and I've submitted his application, starting through the process. So welcome, Bill.
Thank you, Steve. Glad to be here.
Great to see you, Bill. Any other guests today or visiting Rotarians? Any other hands up? I think that's it. We want to encourage all of our members to bring a guest. One of our initiatives this year, both for our club and Rotary International, is to increase our membership. With more members, we can do more good in our community and around the world. So encourage everyone to bring a member throughout the year. On to announcements. Most of you are already aware. Just a reminder with COVID and Delta unfortunately still around. Oh, I'm sorry, Linda Farkas, you raise your hand.
No.
Go ahead. Oh.
I just wanted to finish what I was talking about before. I'm the co-chair of the Rotary Youth Leadership Committee, and we're kicking off. We're going to be starting to talk and select students in November. So and for those of you, so many of you have given so generously this year. I can't even thank you enough. I keep watching the numbers and keeping track of the numbers. Some of you have said that you're going to donate, and that is phenomenal. And some of you have told us when you're going to donate, and that is phenomenal. So we can count on that money. For those of you that said that you're going to donate and we haven't heard, we'll be annoying. We'll keep bothering you to say, okay, when can we expect it? Or are you still going to? So if you could just let Patty McCarthy know, and Patty's on here. I saw Patty. And that's my place. I'm sorry, I live downtown, so ignore that. please let her know so that we can know when to expect the dollar amount. But to all of those who have contributed, I just saw some beautiful donations this week, and I can't tell you how happy we are to receive those. So thanks, everybody.
Great. Yeah, and Linda, thanks to you and your committee for all your great work with our future generation of leaders through RILA and World Affairs. So
Thank
if
you.
you have a question, raise hand. And while people are doing that real quick, just a reminder, we want to keep our Rotarians safe. We want to keep your families safe. So we really miss seeing each other in person, but we decided it was best to postpone our meetings and stay on Zoom through December 31st. And as the fall progresses, we'll kind of update you on kind of our thoughts for hopefully getting together in person, knock on wood, January of 2022. And also, this is the week we're doing our Rotary board elections. We have 3 great candidates who've thrown their name in the ring for 2 open board positions. And we have a great Rotary president-elect nominee as well. And we sent out the link on Monday, and we're asking everyone to submit your vote by the end of the day next Monday, October 11th. And we will announce the results next Thursday at our meeting. And if you haven't voted yet, in a minute here, I'm going to drop the election voting ballot in the chat feature so you can just click on that and vote. So with that, go ahead, Devin, we'll start with you with an announcement.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. So World Polio Day is coming up on the 24th of this month, believe it or not. And that's an opportunity for everybody around the world to focus on polio, how far we've come, the fact that we're this close, and what needs to be done yet. And the AM Club actually was on the track towards putting together an event outdoors at the Ashton House down at the curve down by the river on Park Road, just to the west of Hampshire a little ways. And they asked if we wanted to partner with them on that. So we'll be sending out a sign up and watch for that, but that's going to be the night of October 21st. It's outdoors. It's a pretty light ask. There'll be a suggested donation at the door, and a speaker, and just some time for fellowship, and an opportunity to invite somebody who maybe you have invited to a Rotary meeting already, or somebody who you want to get involved with Rotary. And obviously polio is one of the biggest things that Rotary has done over the years. So this is a perfect opportunity to introduce somebody to Rotary and hang out with them in a safe space outdoors and have a beverage and some food and talk to some fellow Rotarians. So watch for that sign up. But if you want to do that, save the date, October 21st, 5:30 to 7:30.
Great, thank you, Devin. Ryan, you had your hands up.
Yep, I have 3 hands up because I've got 3 announcements. And the first one is a directive from Miss Anna Moyer-Stone. So I'm going to start with that and read it verbatim because I know she's going to watch this recording and check on me. Anna Moyer-Stone would like you all to know that the Joint Service Club luncheon is happening this year. It's on Thursday, December 2nd at noon. It will be by Zoom on our usual Zoom link. So it's pretty darn easy. The new University of Iowa president, Barbara Wilson, will present to our club and all the other area service clubs. And you don't need a golden ticket this year. So, Anna's not going to berate you with reminders of buying your golden ticket, remembering your golden ticket, and all that golden ticket business. So really, she's asking for anybody that would like to help her with this event. You can email her at aemoyers@gmail.com, and I'll put that in the chat. So thank you to Anna for putting me on the spot to do that. I would also like to announce a cool event coming up put on by our District 6000. It's called One Rotary Summit. And they do this every year. I'm new to the concept and have been on the planning committee, but it'll happen on October 20th, the evening of October 20th, all on Zoom as well. And it'll go from 5:30 to 8. And that's a lot of time, but basically it's a lot of, kind of conversation leading and brainstorming around building membership in Rotary, enlarging and making sure our public image is always on the forefront, and then using those 2 things to build our foundation. So kind of the 3 key tenets of Rotary will be discussed and brainstormed upon by people all over the district. So mark your calendars. I'll put the link that you can sign up for that event, again, October 20th at 5:30, just from the comfort of your living room. Get a glass of wine, BYOB. And then, of course, we've got the tree planting coming up, and I'll put the link in that as well. I won't belabor that point because you've all heard about it a lot, but get ready to plant some trees. We're going to put 100 of them in the ground, and I'll put that link here shortly as well. So thank you all for your time.
Great, thank you, Ryan. Tice, you had your hand raised.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. And I just wanted to let you know that the Iowa Most Board met recently. Gary Pasha was there, and as was Nancy, and also members Pete Wallace and John Kennedy and other Rotarians. And Iowa Most has been working very hard to figure out how to make sure that a 2022 mission can happen, and it is going to happen. It's going to be a little bit tricky to coordinate through COVID and be safe and make sure we keep kids safe, but there's a great plan in place and good medical leadership on the Iowa Most team. For those of you who may not be familiar with Iowa Most, it's the Iowa Miles of Smiles cleft palate team that goes to Huehuetenango in Guatemala every year. Also doing cataract surgery again this year, and so it looks like March will be the date. I am posting in the chat a link to a presentation that Deb Duncase, who's in the AM Rotary Club and who is the project manager for Iowa Most, will be presenting about Iowa Most. If you're interested, we would love to have you attend. It's actually hosted by the Iowa City Foreign Relations Council at Midwest One Bank at 102 South Clinton at the downtown office on Wednesday, October 20th. So if you're going to the summit, you can have a full Rotary day over the lunch hour. It's in person, social distancing with masks, but you can also live stream. And so I'll give you the link for the sign up. And Deb's just done a fantastic job of creating and building on the partnership with the Huehuetenango, both medical community as well as the Rotary Club of Huehuetenango. And that program just continues to get bigger and more exciting. And so a lot of fun happenings. I also hope that sounds like we might be doing a coffee fundraiser. So if you bought salmon, thank you. But if you didn't do that, and there may be another opportunity. So just another cool, awesome thing happening in Rotary. And back over to you, Eric.
Great, thank you. And Doris Prusel, I think, Doris, you had your hand raised.
Yes, I did.
Yes, if you want.
I don't know if I missed anything, but I didn't hear any mention about Eleanor McClelland passing away.
Yep, we're going to get to that here momentarily.
Okay.
But yep, thanks for bringing that to our attention. Yep. So the last two announcements I had, 25 years ago, some of our club members were instrumental in helping to found and support a new club, the Coralville North Corridor Club. And the Coralville North Corridor Club is celebrating their 25th anniversary on Wednesday, October 27th, with a luncheon from noon to 1:30. And they're going to be in the lower level of the Coralville Library so they can social distance and spread out. But they wanted me to share the message. If you've ever been a member of the Coralville Club or you were instrumental in helping support their efforts over the years, they would love to have you join them October 27th at noon at the Coralville Library. And final announcement, I didn't see that Charlie Funk is on our call, but Charlie was just recognized. We know him, he's a fellow Rotarian, and he's the president and CEO of Midwest One Bank. Charlie was just recognized for receiving the Iowa Banker Association's 2021 James Leach Leadership Award. So if you see Charlie or have an opportunity to congratulate him, he received this prestigious award just in the last week. Switching gears, I thought we'd do something a little different with our Rotary Moment of Gratitude. As Doris mentioned, I just found out the sad news this morning that Eleanor McClelland passed away yesterday, surrounded by family and friends. And I thought for our Rotary Moment of Gratitude, how perfect would it be to kind of celebrate Eleanor's life and her impact on Rotary. And I went back in our Rotary archives Eleanor joined our club in 1990, so she was a member for well over 30 years. And many of you know her as our longtime club administrator in the past. I know when we were at the University of Iowa Athletic Club, often Eleanor was the first person who we saw. When we walked in the front door, she helped us find our name tag. She helped us with our paperwork and support, and just she really lived Rotary through and through. And we reached out to Eleanor's family, and her cousin wanted us to share that even up until her final days, Eleanor always said that Rotary, and this is a quote, "Rotary was always such a special and important part of my life." And I know Sean McIntyre, our club secretary, Sean worked closely with Eleanor over the years. So invite Sean to share a few words and memories about Eleanor.
Thank you, Eric. Yeah, this was extremely difficult news to get here today. I spent a lot of time with Eleanor as obviously she transferred over secretary duties to me when I joined the club, and we spent a lot of time together. I enjoyed sitting down with her and just gathering all her knowledge from Rotary. She really was, dedicated throughout her life to nursing and giving back, and then joining Rotary and everything she did for our club. She was really a wealth of knowledge for that. I know that every president that had her as a secretary and every board that had her was much better for it. She loved coming to meetings and having COVID and not being able to be there and see everybody was just difficult. She wanted to be there, wanted to be in person, wanted to be able to talk to people, and we just enjoyed having her around so much. For those of you that didn't get a chance to know her, I hope somebody will reach out, and we can talk more about it. I mean, we could hold a whole program with people talking about Eleanor. I think she was just truly phenomenal. So, if we can, I'd just like to have a moment of silence for Eleanor, if we could, please.
Great, Sean, thank you for sharing those memories. We thought it was important to share a Rotary perspective of Eleanor, which Sean did. And also we wanted to share kind of a professional perspective of her. And Eleanor's title, she was the retired emeritus professor and former associate dean of undergraduate studies and community affairs at the University of Iowa College of Nursing. And we'd have invited a Rotarian and a former coworker of Eleanor's, Diane, to say a few words about Eleanor. So Diane, if you want to unmute yourself and share some stories about Eleanor.
Thank you, President Eric. Fellow Rotarians, please join me in just a moment of remembrance for my colleague and fellow Rotarian, Eleanor McClelland. Eleanor was a consummate nurse and a staunch Rotarian. She sponsored me for membership in Rotary in 1999, at a time when women were early to being integrated in Rotary. She taught me many valuable and sometimes amusing Rotary lessons, like women don't sit together. They need to join tables full of men and get to know everybody. And like how to have the money to pay for lunch out and ready so we are not fumbling in our purses rather than shaking hands and connecting with people. Eleanor became the club administrator, as was mentioned, and she just loved that position, as was also mentioned. She was described by some as Ms. Rotary, giving many years of service to the Iowa City Noon Rotary. She also served on the Oaknall board for a number of years, which is how I found out about Oaknall. Professionally, Eleanor was a doctor nurse, having a PhD, and specializing in community public health and serving as a professor at the University of Iowa and also associate dean, as was mentioned. She specialized in the state of Iowa nursing policy and activities and was a strong advocate and problem solver. At the end of her career, we became research colleagues. I have fond memories of road trips, conferences attended, research collaborations, and many interesting conversations. She was a person of faith, service, and devotion to her dog, Heather. I saw Eleanor the last time a little while ago, and she said she was quite ill, but that they did not know what it was. I found out recently from our mutual friend, Mary Tarbox, that it was shingles that she was battling. Physical illness was hard on Eleanor, and now she is at peace. Rotary has lost a strong and dedicated supporter. I've lost a kind and supportive friend. May good times and happy memories sustain us all. Eleanor, you will be missed. Rest in peace. And services are with Gay and Chia, but are not finalized yet. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Diane. So we thought, like I said, for the Rotary moment of gratitude, just to spend a few minutes celebrating Eleanor. And obviously from the words we've heard, she's made a great impact on Rotary, the University of Iowa, and the nursing community. So she will be missed. And as Diane mentioned, Gay and Chia is handling her arrangements. They haven't set a date yet for the visitation or funeral, but as soon as we get that information, we'll gladly share that with the rest of our club. So with that, I want to kind of transition to the program part of our meeting, and I'd like to introduce Devin to introduce our speaker today.
Yeah, thanks, President Eric. We've got a guest here from University of Iowa Pomerantz Career Center. Allan Boettger is the Senior Director of Corporate and Community Outreach there and has worked in higher education for a total of 25 years and spent 6 years in the middle enjoying a couple of radio, advertising, sales, and sales management positions. He came to the Pomerantz Career Center in the University of Iowa in 2005 and has enjoyed the quality time working with colleagues, students, and the companies and organizations that hire them. He was talking about that he had 3 big career fairs this week, and I'm sure we'll hear all about that, but he's a busy guy connecting students with all these great companies. And outside of work, he's a volunteer, a board member, an actor, a singer, and a voice talent. He's a big fan of movies and books, especially audiobooks, and of course, the Iowa Hawkeyes. Allan, thanks for joining us, and we're looking forward to hearing your presentation.
Thanks very much. Thanks for the invitation. I'm coming to you live from the beautiful campus of the University of Iowa here in Iowa City, and I'm in my office. So if you hear children or pets in the background, that should not be happening, and you should send help immediately because I'll need it. I'm here to talk to you today a little bit about Handshake, which is not this social interaction that we have been avoiding for the last year and a half, but it is actually a software system that we use here at the University of Iowa. So I'll get to talk to you a little bit about that and how it's used. And answer any questions that you have about the system. I am really pleased to see a couple of familiar people on the Zoom call today, and thanks again for having me. So let's get started. Handshake is a great resource that's available to companies and organizations to be able to connect with students from universities and colleges around the country and around the world. Students and alumni have the opportunity to be able to upload their resumes and cover letters into the system and share samples of their work. And they can apply for jobs and internships and attend career fairs, both virtually and then register to attend in-person career fairs as well. And we've had several of those on campus this fall, both virtually and in person. Students can also sign up for interview times and practice interviews as well through the system. They're able to connect with other students and alumni in the system as well. So it has a social media kind of component to it. So students can connect with other students from other schools or alums from the University of Iowa in the system as well. Employers and companies and organizations can create profiles in the system and share that information. They can post those jobs and internships that they have. Handshake at the University of Iowa is really geared toward internships and full-time jobs, but we also post local part-time jobs and student on-campus employment positions and work-study positions as well. So that gets students into the system earlier rather than later in their college and university careers. Employers are able to communicate with their applicants through the system, or they can link that system to their human resources profiles and systems when they're doing searches as well. Employers are also able to register for events that are hosted by colleges and universities all across the country. Those events can be career fairs like we've talked about already. As we mentioned today, we had several virtual career fairs this week that were hosted through Handshake. and employers were able to log in and host either one-on-one sessions with students, or they had a group session available for students as well. And the students would log in, much like we're doing today, in a similar format to Zoom through the Handshake system. So they were able to connect and participate in a career fair in that way. One of the really neat things about Handshake is that the local colleges and universities are all on Handshake together. So Cornell, Kirkwood, Mount Mercy, and the University of Iowa have all adopted Handshake for our platform to use on campus. And then all of these other schools in Iowa are on Handshake as well. There are about 1,400 colleges and universities that use Handshake nationwide. And I'm happy to talk you through connecting with those going forward as well. But it's a great opportunity to be able to log into one system and post those jobs at all of these schools at one time, just by selecting those colleges and universities. Employers use this system in many different ways. A lot of them really like the opportunity to be able to log into one place and then post jobs at many different schools. That's the biggest benefit of Handshake. The other benefit for employers is that it's free, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as well. The thing that those employers really like to is just to be able to really target the colleges and universities that fit well with their organizations. So that's part of the key there too. Students really like it as well because they can use a lot of filtering to search for positions. So if they know, for example, that they definitely want to live in Iowa City when they graduate, or Cedar Rapids or Des Moines, they can isolate the jobs and postings around that particular area and do some searching in that area. And they can use those filters to select majors or the type of work they're going to do, or even look at specific companies. One of the really neat things about Handshake for students is that even if a company has not connected with the University of Iowa, they can research that organization by looking at their profile within Handshake. And there are about 500,000 organizations in the system. It's very competitive. There is some bad news. There is a much greater demand than there is supply of students right now. So for example, this morning in Handshake, just connected to the University of Iowa, there were 23,000 job postings. That's a lot. So before we switched over to Handshake, in a typical year, we would have, typically we would have 2,000 or 3,000 postings live at any time during the year, and maybe 12,000 total postings for a whole year before we switched to Handshake. And now with Handshake and the ability, the ease that there is available in Handshake for us to connect with those employers, our postings are closer to 2,000 and 3,000 postings a week new, about 500 a day. And we're connecting with about 100 new companies and organizations a week too. So it's rapid growth and a massive demand right now. As I mentioned, there are about 500,000 organizations that are in the system. About a little over 20,000 of those are connected with the University of Iowa. And then I think I mentioned that there were about 1,400 colleges and universities, and we'll talk about that next. The good news is that it is free. So for employers and companies and organizations and nonprofits to be able to use this, it doesn't cost them anything. The colleges and universities contract with Handshake to provide this opportunity for our students and for the companies and organizations that we work with. There are about 15,000 students at the University of Iowa that have completed profiles in the system and that are either looking for jobs or internships, or have recently graduated, or are looking for part-time roles as well for student employment on campus or local part-time positions. Again, like I mentioned before, you can, as an organization, posting in Handshake, connect with all the colleges and universities in the region. So that's really, really helpful. It allows for companies to recruit passively just by posting jobs or posting those internships, or they can actively recruit as well by searching for student information in the system and looking specifically at the students that are in the system, learning like what kind of positions that they're looking for and that kind of thing. And we'll look a little bit at that and how that functionality is available to companies and organizations. Like I mentioned well, I guess I haven't mentioned this yet, but 75,000 postings is what we had last year in the system for the whole year. And the breakdown for that is about 70% of those are jobs, 25% internships. And then some other local positions, the student employment positions I mentioned, volunteer opportunities can be posted in Handshake as well, and some fellowships and other positions as well. When employers are posting these positions, they select a different school year or classification status, and you can kind of see the breakdown there. Obviously, alumni and senior is the biggest, the most popular thing to select for a position, and that would be for an entry-level role where an employer would be looking for that person getting ready to start their professional career. There are many companies that are starting to post more senior level positions in Handshake as well. So I think the more students that are current graduate and are in the workforce for a while that used Handshake to find their first job will maybe come back to Handshake and to find their second job. Handshake has only been around for about 6 years. It's a relatively young company. We've had it at the University of Iowa for 3 years now. So it's starting to really catch hold with our students and nationwide as well. The map that's along the bottom of the screen there, you'll see is kind of a heat map. I just took this picture recently, a screenshot of where most of our current positions are posted. You can kind of see there right around the Iowa City, Cedar Rapids area is that red dot in the middle is where the most of the positions are posted, but then you can see that there are postings all over the world. I just wanted to share a little bit about the top job functions that are posted in Handshake as well. So these are kind of the key areas that are really being heavily recruited within the last 3 months. And these come up often in different searches as a part of Handshake. The actual biggest job function that shows up in Handshake is other. So I don't know what that means exactly, but when you drill down, there's lots of different positions that are listed under other, but these are the ones that have specific names that are a part of that. So you can see that education, teaching and training, healthcare, IT. So I'm sure many of you are not surprised by seeing these on the list. So employers that use the system can, like I said before, build a profile in the system that highlights your organization, and each recruiter that is working at that organization can have their own account as well. I'm guessing that many of you on the call are not probably the right people that are going to be using Handshake, but if you're connected with an HR department or someone who's recruiting, this would be a great tool for them to be able to use. And I'm happy to meet with any of those folks as a referral, or just take a meeting with them to help them learn more about how to use Handshake in general. Employers are able to, like I said, post positions, schedule interviews, host virtual events, register and attend for career fairs, and then search for those students and connect with them as well. I've got some pictures just kind of about what it looks like inside the system here to give you an idea of what it looks like. This is our profile from the Pomerantz Career Center. So we've got some pictures, we've got some resources that are posted, we've got links to our social media sites, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, our Twitter feed, all kinds of different things that students would use if they were researching us as a place to come and work. As I mentioned, the recruiters at each of the organizations can make their own profiles as well. And this is just kind of a screenshot of that. This is kind of the homepage for a recruiter. So they would be able to log in, and right at the top there, you would see that you can post a job or request an interview or create an event or register for a career fair that might be upcoming. This is where you would search for a career fair. A lot of these slides here at the end are things that you would be able to share with someone that's in HR and would be using the system directly. So we don't need to really talk through the details of these pages either, but I just wanted to share them just as a resource for you to be able to go back and look at, or if you'd like to share them with somebody else that would be using the system as well. One of the things that we do talk to employers about on a regular basis are some best practices for recruiting. And we really encourage companies to post the most robust job description that they can, talking a lot about what the opportunities are for growth within the role and recruiting that entry-level student and what it's going to be like for them. We really encourage, if possible, for those companies to post salary information so students and job seekers have the most information they can about trying to find that right position, as well as any resources they have available for students and new job seekers as well, like diversity, equity, and inclusion resources, anything about employee resource groups, the benefits in general. One of the things that our students look for a lot with companies and organizations lately is the social impact that they have. How involved are they in the communities that they're a part of, and including those in a job description is something that it would be newer rather than something that has always been in a job description as well. The biggest piece of feedback we get from students is that they've applied for a job and they never hear back. So that's something that we talk with all of the employers that recruit on campus about, is making sure that they're communicating with those applicants on a regular basis. Even just to let them know that they got their application is a big step for many organizations. So, and as competitive as the job market is right now, it's very important for that communication to be maintained. We also encourage connections with clubs and organizations here on campus, participation in mock interviews, where we invite recruiters to come to campus to help students practice their interviewing skills and give them feedback right on the spot so that they can improve and be ready for those interviews when they really matter. And then, of course, participating in fairs and events on campus is really key to be connecting with the students that are looking for those roles. I've got some additional resources here available that'll be available through the slide deck or the PowerPoint as we send that out. And you're welcome to use those. And like I said, I'm happy to meet with people individually as well. I did want to point out a couple of things too. A lot of questions we get about where do the University of Iowa students go and when they graduate. And so I wanted to show you some of the outcome data that you can find on our website as well, so you can see where students from the University of Iowa go. So I'm going to share a different screen with you here so you can take a look at that. And we'll just talk through that a little bit. I've got pulled up on our website here the post-graduation data, and I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of the page so you can see where to get to that. Right here at the bottom, there's the post-graduation data link. That'll take you to this page. And our website is careers.uiowa.edu, and that's in the additional resources page that I showed you before. But I just wanted you to be able to see that you can see where all of our students are going after graduation, at least for the last 3 years worth of data. So it has information about where they live and like the top 20 organizations that are hiring University of Iowa students, as well as the top 20 or so job titles for University of Iowa students. And then you can break that down by the college they attended and the major program as well. So you can use these drop-down fields to look at the College of Nursing, for example, and see where they work and get some of that key information. There's some similar information that's available via LinkedIn as well. So I'm going to jump over to that page and just quickly show you the alumni section of LinkedIn. I see several staff from our Center for Advancement on the call today, so they are definitely familiar with this resource. But you can see that there are 160, 170,000 alumni from the University of Iowa that have LinkedIn profiles. But LinkedIn has made it really easy to see where they are living, where they work, what they do now, and what they studied when they're on campus. So this is a huge resource for us when we're looking at the companies and organizations that have hired University of Iowa students. And this information is available for all colleges and universities that have students or alums that have LinkedIn profiles as well. So I know I've shared a lot of information with you today about Handshake and some of the resources that we have at the University of Iowa. I definitely want to open it up for questions, but in general, Handshake, a great resource to be able to connect with college students for internships and full-time roles. And I encourage you to share this info with people that could benefit from the info. And I'm happy to to meet with anybody that needs help.
Great. Thank you so much, Allan. If anyone has a question for Allan, please raise your hand and we'll call on you to unmute yourself, or you can ask it in the chat button as well. And while we wait for a few hands, Allan, can you talk about kind of the past 16 months, kind of the COVID world, kind of how you guys pivoted from kind of in-person career recruiting events to more virtual, how that worked?
Sure. Yeah, all of last year's events were virtual, and we did all of our career fairs through Handshake. And it worked really well for the University of Iowa. We had our students were very engaged and were able to use this tool really very well to connect with organizations. Then this fall, we decided to offer a hybrid version of what we've done typically. So we've had many, I would say probably 8 in-person events, and then I think 7 virtual events so far. So there's been a nice blend. For example, we did a business and entrepreneurship fair on the same day we did a helping, counseling, and public service fair, and we had about 900 students attend the 2 of those events in person. And then yesterday we had an all majors virtual fair, which would have been kind of the virtual version of that fair, and we had about 900 students register to participate in that event as well. So very active, and it's been really valuable to be able to offer these resources both virtually and in person this year, especially because it just increases the accessibility for both the employers and students to offer that virtual opportunity, as well as that in-person connection as well.
Great. Kelly, I see you have a question.
And this is actually more than a question, it's another lens. I have Al on speed dial, so we work a lot together because one of the first questions I'm asked a lot from the corporate and foundation relations perspective from the Center for Advancement is, does XYZ company have a relationship with the University of Iowa? And one of the first things I do is look on Handshake. I actually have access to Handshake, and I look and see, is there a recruiting partnership? Because the top 3 reasons a company typically wants to partner with not only the University of Iowa, but any higher education institution is access to our students, our faculty, and technology. So Handshake starts to paint that picture, and just wanted to really highlight that it is an important relationship that we have with Al and his team, and they do a great job. So thanks, Al.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. Kelly probably could have done this presentation.
Ryan Bell. Ryan, I see you have a question.
Yeah, thanks for that presentation, Allan. That was interesting. I'm curious, number one, I saw Iowa State was not listed in that list, which is kind of a head scratcher, as all other size and quantity of Iowa colleges and universities seem to be on there. And then, kind of my second point is there a way to use this to sort of try to keep graduates in our state? You hear of this mass exodus of Iowans, getting their degree here, but then going to the coast or what have you. Would there be a way to charge those Australian companies to post their jobs or something like that to give Iowa companies a little bit of a leg up? That's probably not fair to your goals because you just want people to be placed, but just trying to think outside the box a little bit.
Yeah, the charging other companies from other states probably would violate our professional guidelines for working in career services. However, I have been on my tour of Eastern Iowa and Iowa in general, really encouraging companies and organizations to invite students to stay here. That's just something we haven't done over the many years. And thousands of students choose Eastern Iowa for their education destination for higher ed. And we need to continue to invite them to stay and live here and work here after the fact. And the economic alliance groups, the economic development organizations are getting much better at that. Des Moines, Dubuque, Cedar Rapids, Iowa City have all really made some strong efforts to invite those students that choose to come here to study to stay and work. So there's definitely a push for that, Ryan. I'm glad you brought that up. I should have mentioned that earlier. So thank you for that.
Any other questions at all for Allan? Well, seeing none, Alan, thanks so much for sharing. Oh, Madeline, I got you. Yep.
Yeah, I'm not sure I heard the answer about why Iowa State wasn't listed.
Oh, yes, I kind of glazed over that, didn't I? Well, no, there is a real answer. Iowa State has a system that they've homegrown for the last 15 years. It's going to be a real challenge for them to convert. They have a decentralized model of career services at Iowa State. So each school at Iowa State has their own career services staff. And at the University of Iowa, we are a largely centralized career services model. So engineering has a staff member here at the University of Iowa, and many of the professional organizations have staff. And we would try to work closely as we can with our partners here on campus. At Iowa State, it's kind of separated out. So each, like the College of Business, for example, has their own career services staff, and they use a portion of their online system. So it's all kind of piecemealed out. So a company trying to recruit on campus at Iowa State might have to reach out to 3 or 4 different career centers, depending on the kind of students they're recruiting. But here at Iowa, it's centralized, so they can post on Handshake and reach all the students that are here at the university that they need to, ideally.
Steve West. Steve, I see you have a question. Oh, you're on mute, Steve.
I apologize, excuse me. I wasn't smart enough to write down all of Alan's contact information or the Handshake web address. Could you review, how do you contact, or how do I send this information on to our HR department?
Yes, I'll drop the link to the Pomerantz Career Center in the chat here so that you have that handy. And then you're welcome to share this slide deck from this presentation as well. Thank you. And then I see a question about alumni in Handshake, and yes, it is open to all alumni, and they can create an account at any point. There are directions on our website for alums to be able to create an account in the system and get started.
Yep, Madeline.
Yeah, part B of my question. So obviously, most of your focus is on getting employers and students together. But from the employer's perspective, they're really interested in, once they've got together and got somebody hired, are they going to stay? And I'm not just talking about in Iowa, but I'm going to say stay employed. And I wondered if you have any longitudinal statistics about people that use Handshake, get that job. Do they stay for a year?
I don't know that a study has been done on that particularly yet, because every employer is so different in that way. So I think the retention issue is largely really specific to the employer. And I know that there are many employers working on that right now, especially because of the demand for staff and how expensive it is to retrain somebody. Yeah, so and that is certainly a concern. And there are many best practices that are being shared nationally, I guess, through a lot of the media, and we try and share those with companies as well. And I mean, it constantly changes too, what students and early career staff are wanting from their organizations, and what each organization needs from their employees as well. So it's a fine balance, and it's going to be even more important over the next few years as we go through this massive demand. So,
okay, thank you.
Great. Alan, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. A very timely presentation. I know when you travel around the state, people are on the tip of their tongues, jobs, jobs, jobs. So thank you for helping connect students and alumni to positions, high demand positions, both in the state and around the world. And in honor of our speakers, Alan, every week we make a donation to the Rotary Polio Plus program, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation matches that 2-to-1. So that will result in 70 polio vaccinations around the world in honor of your presentation today. So thank you again for spending some time with us.
That's amazing. Thanks very much for having me.
Yep. And some final reminders. Please remember to keep Eleanor's family in your thoughts and prayers this week. Make sure you vote for our Rotary board elections. We need to receive all the votes by the end of business day on Monday. And at Rotary next Thursday, we will announce the results of the elections. And during the announcements, we shared several great opportunities to get involved in Rotary community service projects and free Rotary online training. So make sure you take advantage of some of those opportunities. Our program next week is Phil O'Brien. Phil is with Urban Acres, and he's going to give us an update on the local real estate market, which should be interesting. And we conclude every meeting with the Rotary four-way test. And we'll put the four-way test up in front of us here in a second. And if everyone could please unmute yourself and join me in our Rotary four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Be beneficial.
To all concerned. Great to see everybody. Hopefully you have a good weekend, and we'll see everyone next Thursday.
Go Hawks.
Yep, thanks, guys.